this Yammer case study from Mo.com. And this is the second case study, which is understand the search functionality. I'm going to assume that you've already read all of the background information and also very important the overview, which tells you about what does Yammer do and what kind of service it provides. And you should really know we have two tables. The first table is users, and the second table is events. Also, really to know about what each column is about and which each value is about, because I've made a mistakes about it. Okay, so the first part of my case study report is actually just the context. The second part is we need to understand what we are talking about. So actually we have four problems at hand. The first problem is, are users' search experiences generally good or bad? So actually it's about measuring the success of a product or the function. The second problem is if search worth working on at all. So we are talking about if we shall launch this function in the future. And third question, if search is worth working on, what specifically should be improved? So actually this is talking about the improvement of a product or a function, like how can we make it better? And the fourth question is, if the recommendations would be completed, how to understand recommendations are actually improvements of the old search function. It's very easy. We just need to set up some success metrics. Okay, let's start from question one. Are user search experiences good or bad? I just randomly ran into this blog from Emma, and I really love this. Emma is also a very successful YouTuber about business analysis, so I'll post this link to this blog below. The first step you need to do when it comes to a merit success question is to set up the success metrics. It's also an open question, so you are welcome to set up your metrics by yourself, but let's just take a look at mine. I set up three success metrics. The first one is retention rate, and the second one, turn rate. The third one, average session duration. The first two are actually very common when it comes to business analysis, because I can see a lot of tutorial and blogs about how to set up these two. So let's just take a look. Let's first define what does this variable really mean. The first column in my query is engaged user count, which is defined as the number of users who use the search function at least once in this month. Retention count is defined as the number of users who used the function last month and continue to use the function this month. Retention rate is defined as the percentage of the retained user of all the engaged users this month. And when the retention rate is higher, it means that we have a higher proportion of users who used the function this month and also last month. And then as churn count is defined as the numbers of users who used the function last month but not this month. So the churn rate is defined as the percentage of the churn users of all the engaged users last month. So the lower the number is, the better. I'm quite a rookie to business analysis, so I don't really know the standard for a good churn rate or a good retention rate. So I looked it up and I found some references. First, according to an article from Jenny Booth, and you can click it on and you can open the link. She said that over 35% retention rate is considered elite. So you can see that our retention rate, which is quite good for me, it ranges from about 30% to 36%, which is quite good. It should be considered a not bad retention rate. But when it comes to churn rate, it's another story. According to Patrick Campbell, he says between 3% and 5% monthly churn is good, and less than 2% is great. You can see in here, our churn rate actually is very high. From May to June, there is no one that's turned away from it, but you can see in July, in August, the retention rate is rocketing high. It's ranging from 30% to about 34%. And the next one, it's average session duration. An average session duration is defined as the average time of each search session, which is the time span in which user starts a search-related event, be it search autocomplete, search run, to they finish with another search-related action. So it could be a search autocomplete, search run, or even they click on any of the results. The whole session should be in 10 minutes. If the session is longer than 10 minutes, I would call it another session. So the shorter the average session duration is, the less time a user spend on each search. So in here, you can see that the results took an user about 3 minutes and 13 seconds to finish a search session. So if I put myself into the context, it's kind of too long because you can see if I type in Google and it took me about 3 minutes to find the result I want, it's kind of too long for me. In summary, you can see that although the search function has a high retention rate, many users turn away from it because it just took too long for them to find the results. Is search worth working on at all? This question is asking about whether we should or not launch the question. The question actually is more complicated than the first one because it requires you a little about A/B testing and experiment on the users. But we don't really have to do that because we don't really get to do experiment on these users. We can draw our conclusion based on the success metrics of the first question. But there's one thing I want to mention. Based on the answer of the first question, we have conflicting metrics. We have a good retention rate, but we have a bad churn rate and average search session duration. So in here, I want to talk a little about the long-term impacts. In the context of this search function, we can see although we have some good metrics, we have some bad metrics, but in the long run, the search function still helps the user to communicate with coworkers efficiently. This could bring more potential users to the platform, and this in return would result in more revenue for the company. If you have read the overview, you can see that Yammer is a social network for communicating with coworkers. So if a user has used the Yammer service for a really long time, they could have a really big resource library in the back. It would be very hard for them to find some results without the search function. So yeah, though there are some conflicts in the success metrics, but I still think that it's worthwhile to work on the search function, worth working on what specifically should be improved. This is another type of the business analysis question. We call it improve a product. We have several steps. Step 1, clarify the goal. Step 2, offer some opportunities. Step 3, prioritization. Step 4, define 1 or 2 success metrics. This is the same as in this case. The first step I want to do is to define a goal. I want to define the goal of improvement of the search function as users could find what they are looking with shorter time and fewer clicks. In the context of the search function, I don't really think that engagement is that important as compared to the easiness to use the function. So the first recommendation I would say is to just improve the autocomplete algorithm. For users, autocomplete should be the most trouble-free way to get the result. A user can go for an intended result staying in the current page they are on without really going to the result page. But you can see for now, we have 2 ways to get the result. The first is just to use the autocomplete, and the second way is to run the search. But for now, only about 57% of the users are now using the autocomplete to run the search. It means the engineering team should work on the autocomplete function, helping users get the result with least friction without going all the way to the result page and click on the result. The second suggestion I would say is just to improve the search ranking system. The second suggestion I would say is to improve the search ranking algorithm. To redesign the search result ranking system is a good idea. If user can find what they're looking for without really scrolling the result page, they would be more likely to use the search function. So the search result is ranked based on the relevance and the chronology. So users should click on result 1 most often, but now users click on result 2 more often than 1, result 4 more than 3, result 9 more than 7, and 8. So that means we have room to improve on this search ranking algorithm. In here, I am trying to divide the users into different language segments. So I can find a weak spot in terms of language, like which language is causing us to lose most of the clients or the users. The customer experience of the search function vary in different languages because localization can be a challenge for search function engineering team. So I want to study users by languages. From the query, I can see that we lost most research users in English, French, and Spanish. So we can improve the function by investigating into why we lost these users and providing better search service for these language users. Okay, to sum up the summary, for the improvement of the search function, I recommend 1, improve the autocomplete algorithm, 2, improve the search ranking algorithm, 3, improve language localization. So I would suggest working on recommendation 1 and 2 first. Because of limited engineering resource, I need to prioritize the recommendation that has the most impact on achieving the goal, which is help users find what they are looking for with shorter time and fewer clicks. Question 4. If the recommendations would be completed, how to understand the recommendations are actually improvements of the old search function? This is an easy question if you have already solved question 1, which is to measure the success of the function. In here, I used the same success metrics as the ones before. 1, retention rate; 2nd, churn rate; 3rd, average session duration. So if more users keep using the function, less users turning away from it, and the average search session is getting shorter, then I know the search function is making progress over the old school function. The last, some reflections and some thoughts and what I can do better for the next time. Actually, this is the second business project I have ever done, so definitely there are a lot of improvement I can make personally. So feel free to comment below if you think there is some problems or something I can do better next time. I would really appreciate that. Okay, so for me, I would say that first, I really need to understand what each column and each value mean. So really do understand the context before diving into the question. The context includes the background information of the company, and what does each column and each table mean and how they are related, the primary key, the secondary key, things like that. And second is to redefine the success metrics. For me, I would say that retention rate and churn rate are good metrics for any business service. But you can see that it is not really the best in context of how to measure the search function. I should find some better metric. Third, and the third thing I can do better for next time is to understand more about A/B testing. I know all along that A/B testing is very often used in business analysis. Hope you can get something because the last time I checked that there is no any available resource about this case study on YouTube. So yeah, hope this could give you an inspiration about what this case is and like give you some ideas how to start it because that's exactly why I wanted to do this video.